mutual combat. One-on-one mutual combat on the Congress floor. I would love to see it. Thanks, Bernie Sanders, for ruining it for all of us. We've got that. We got Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, under investigation. San Francisco cleaned up magically overnight. And today we got Eric Adams, the mayor of New York. Wait, what is going on? Why is there a loop back? San Francisco cleaned up magically overnight. Hold on. We've got a loop back going on here. Go ahead and roll
the growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
I just saw a clip of San Francisco, more Chinese flags than American flags. Matter of fact, I hadn't seen one American flag on there. Let's get into that. We got Senator Markwayne Mullins challenging the Teamsters president, Sean O'Brien, to a gentleman's duel. Sports news, the manslaughter charge has come out. They didn't name, I guess it just works different over in the UK, but they didn't name the suspect in the case. The suspect, who I'm assuming must be Matt Petgrave, is out on bond, and we haven't seen what the actual charges are or what's going on with that. So we'll talk all about that. I know that Deadleg's got some information on that. Joined with us as a special guest, just for political commentary and background noise, we got Tyler from Anti-Hero Podcast. Tyler, welcome to Last Call of the Day, baby.
We firing Deadleg already for that fuck up at the intro?
I don't know what that was. I've never had a loop back problem. I've heard of other people.
He just fired himself.
I've heard of other people complaining about a loop back. That's when what you say starts looping back and you can hear it in your headphones. It's never happened to me until just now. So that was embarrassing. Today's show brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack Factor Meals. Factormeals.com/Wolfpack50 for 50% off. Ghostbed and Factor coming in hard, getting ahead of the Thanksgiving Black Friday spirit by offering 50%. I had a Factor meal last night. It was a jalapeno chicken cheese with hot shredded coleslaw. Never had that before. It was fantastico. Meal planning to the next level. That way, if you need 5 meals a week, 3 meals a week to get you through your work week, you can go on Factor Meals. These are fresh, never frozen, prepared by chefs, sent to your door. Don't be a peasant. Don't be eating your PB&J and your bologna sandwich in the squad room, spreading your nasty tuna fish all over your bread and stinking up the place. Go to Factor Meals and get you a real meal that'll make everybody around you jealous. Factormeals.com. Wolfpack50 is the promo code there. Speaking of smelling shitty, let's jump into the first story of the day. We got San Francisco cleaned up overnight. That is good, but it's also bad because, one, it shows that San Francisco, who has the highest property crime rate and is arguably probably the most disgusting city on the planet. We've covered the shit map of San Francisco for those of you who live under a rock, which is most of you first responders driving around in your car. San Francisco, there used to be a thing where you could pinpoint where cops are on the Google Maps. So if there's a cop, you could pin it, and then everybody that was navigating could then see the cop pin and which road it was at. Somebody hacked the site and started making it to where you could click and have a pointer where there was human poop on the streets.
Wait, hey, so Eric, the darker parts of that map, is that more poop or more condensed poop? Like, is it a type of poop or is it just,
it's
poop?
A good question. Some people were asking, is the dark parts like diarrhea or something like that? I just think it's such a high concentrated area of poop that they just colored the map in black. but there's a lot of shit in San Francisco, and a homeless problem and a drug problem. We've seen the TikToks, you've seen all the videos of these people walking around like zombies, you know, from the fentanyl and all the other things. But then it seems like in almost 3 to 5 days max, they have completely given San Francisco a facelift, but they didn't do it for the citizens of San Francisco. They didn't do it for the American tourist in San Francisco. No, they did it for the Chinese communist dictator Xi Jinping, because the Biden administration really now, with Gavin Newsom included into that, really seem to be China simps, as they would say. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%.
What they did is a trick that college boys have been trying to pull on women for years, and that's if you don't see it, then it's not a problem. So they're just going to take all that mess. It's not going away. They're just moving it someplace else. So they've cleaned up the streets and they've cleaned all this homeless problem up. They didn't clean anything up. They didn't clean any problem up. They're not doing anything. They're just moving it from one place to the other, because the people that are going to give them a crap ton of money, China, is going to come to town and they're going to bring their China money with them. So they have to have some place to spend it. So we're going to clean everything up and make it look out of sight, out of mind. Mom comes home, dad comes home. You got to clean your room. You throw everything in the closet and go, look, it's clean. No, it's not clean. All homeless people are just now in your closet. It's a big problem.
I'm going to add this up here, this article. This is from Global Times. I don't think we've ever used globaltimes.cn. Does anybody even know what that is? Global Times, is that a reputable source? I read the article. There was nothing that wasn't in all of the other articles, but it was just a little bit easier to read. That's why I chose it. Plus, I like to choose other articles other than this, the normal NBC, Fox, CNN, or AP. But this is the way that their take on the Global Times was. It says that the so-called San Francisco's problem of the century of homeless miraculously disappeared overnight as the city prepares for the upcoming Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. Chinese netizens. So here we go. Netizens. Tyler, do you know what a netizen is? A netizen?
Do you think I know what a netizen is?
Do you know what a netizen is?
Bro, I'm Googling basic words right now. I don't know what that is.
Right. I didn't know what a netizen was either until I read this article. A netizen is a citizen of the internet that chimes in on the problems. And I think the reason why they use netizens in this case was because they don't want to say San Franciscoans. San Francisco citizens weighed in. What they're trying to do is low-key say, like, well, this is what people on the internet are saying, not our own local people. However, there is a lot to say from the local people, especially after Gavin Newsom decided to come out with one of the most ridiculous press releases I have heard today. This was almost Beetlejuice. What was the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot? This was almost like something right out of a Lori Lightfoot playbook. But let me go on with this article. It says, according to the media reports on Friday, drug addicts, dealers, and the homeless who have plagued San Francisco's downtown have miraculously disappeared as the Apex Summit is held in the city starting Saturday to Friday. To welcome the nearly 30,000 visitors attending the Apex Summit, San Francisco has undergone significant transformations. Sculptures have been repainted. The streets have been spotlessly cleaned. The main roads. They built a skate park right in the middle with some like checkers games and some chess, which is pretty cool. And did a little outdoor cafe. But they did all of this. Listen, they took where all the grates have been removed. They didn't have time to customize grates for all the trees. You know what I'm talking about on the sidewalk, how each tree has like a little square grate for drainage.
Yeah.
So what they've done is used plywood. And I know that you're a C student at best, Tyler, probably worse than I am when it comes to academia. You know what happens to plywood after not, maybe, I mean, in San Francisco, I'm sure they don't get a lot of rain, but they still do get some dense fog, which has moisture. Do you know what happens to plywood in the course of about 3 weeks? We'll go with in San Francisco.
Warps,
bubbles, shreds, becomes unstable. And if anybody were to stand on that, they would probably put their ankle in a very odd and nefarious position, breaking their ankles. What I'm trying to go for there. So they don't even care about the safety. It's not even about the safety of the people anymore. We just want this to look good on the surface. And the Chinese netizens, the Chinese YouTubers and Twitteries, or whatever they do in China, because I know it's all illegal over there, but they have been kind of saying, like, do the American people think we're stupid? Like, so this is when, let me see if I can get to one of the articles that, let me move this off the screen here. But there was one of the articles where the Chinese kids are talking about America, and they're saying, like, wow, in China, it says, in China, we already have clean and safe cities. So what we do is just a little bit of cleanup when we host an event. But the U.S. has pulled out all of its strength. Not only did it remove the homeless, but it also covered up graffiti and cleaned the rubbish covered road. I thought they did not care, said Sina Weibo, who is a netizen. Similar feelings also resonate among citizens in other countries. Quote, it's scary to know the government has the capability to clean up crime and drugs in 24 hours and to choose not to. A netizen wrote on a social platform, X, formerly known as Twitter. And the New York Times has the best article yet. It says teenagers frantically cleaning up after a house party when their parents went away for the evening. And, that it makes us look ridiculous. It makes us look absolutely.
The New York Times bashed them?
The New York Times, yeah. Well, I mean, the New York Times has been coming out hard against the Biden administration, which I've kind of seen as kind of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Trump's way up in the polls right now. It's not looking good for Biden. But I still don't. I mean, if we want to go on to that debate, I don't see Trump winning again. I just don't think they'll let him. I think he would get assassinated before they let him.
Did you see Theo Vaughn? He had Dana White on his podcast.
Right.
Did you see that? And Theo Vaughn had the JFK Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had him on his podcast. Well, Peloton is a big
It was
sponsor.
Robert Kennedy.
Yeah, Robert Kennedy. Well, Peloton's a huge sponsor of the Theo Vaughn podcast. Peloton was like, if you don't pull that episode, we're dropping you. So not only did Theo say fuck them, Dana White pulled every Peloton out of the USC gym because of that.
Oh, that's epic. And dude, this is the weird thing about, I love to hate that guy, but also he does shit that like makes you like, he walks in with Trump and he walks in with Theo Vaughn and he walks into with Kid Rock at the UFC event this last week. But then he also signs $100 million deal with Bud Light.
I don't, what's the big deal with that? I mean, maybe I'm not getting something.
Well, there's a big conservative boycott on Bud Light. Everybody thinks that Bud Light sold out to the trans movement. They sold out to, with Dylan Mulvaney. Okay. So everybody wants.
Is Bud Light allowed to do? Is Bud Light allowed to do their time and take their lickings and move on, or are we just as a society like no more Bud Light?
Yes, but Bud Light came out and they never retracted their statement and they kind of doubled down on it. And when they asked, would you have done things different going back? They said no, and they say, are you happy with what you did? And they also said no. So then they pissed off the trans movement for not taking their back, and then they pissed off the Republican market for not taking their back. They're basically pandering to both sides.
Yeah,
and you can't have it both ways. So the strike continues, the boycott continues with Bud Light. And say what you want, if boycotts are dumb or they don't work. In this case, they cost nearly $1 billion.
Well, I mean, but look at every good business plan. Look at Trump's business plan. You don't back down. You don't admit that you're wrong. You don't backpedal, even though everybody knows, and the second you go, all right, guys, I'm so sorry, everybody loses respect for you.
Well, that goes back against what you said, because I think if he would have come out in that interview, the Bud Light president or the speaker, whatever, the VP or whatever he was, if he would have come out and said, like, look, man, honestly, we didn't even know that was going to happen. It was a one-time can release from like a local Bud Light thing. They did it. We're not into sexualizing children in any way, shape, or form. And we're not also like backing any kind of like, sexually nefarious activities with anybody that's involved. We're a brand about Bud Light, we're a beer brand, I don't know. Obviously I shouldn't be the speaker for Bud Light, but I think he needs to come out and said like the truth of what happened, and then said, We love our core fan base, man. We love our conservative fan base that has made us one of the top beer companies in the world. We're all behind the blue collar men and women who work their ass off, you know, blah, 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 to earn their beer at the end of the night. I think if they would have played that kind of thing, people would be like, oh, okay. All right. They didn't know. We'll give them another chance, but they didn't. They never said anything like that. Instead, they, you know, pretty much pandered over to the trans side of things, but then it didn't even take their side. I think they're getting what's coming to them. I think in this instance, it would have been the opposite. This would have been the chance to do the right thing. And I think a lot of other companies would have been forced to do the right thing going forward.
Jed, like, what is your take on this? It's not a conspiracy theory. It's real. The money comes from what, like 6 places in the world, right? And it's the same. This is my big thing is who the fuck at Anheuser-Busch was like, this is a good business plan, let's go with this, right? Somebody,
I don't think it went that far. I don't think they had enough.
But they lost money, and companies continue to lose money with these liberal, like Target doing all the liberal things they're doing, and they're losing money, and they keep doing it. And I'm like, at some point, this has to be. I used to think it was Soros funded, which it might be. Like, hey, just keep doing what you're doing, degrade everything. We're going to, you know, and then Target looks back and goes, dude, we're losing money. And somebody's going, I got you. And they're filling that bank account. Just keep doing this. Right. And that's got to be what's happening.
Well, Bill Gates for sure did with Bud Light. Bill Gates bought a crap ton of Bud Light stock recently, right before the Dana White announcement. So you're not going to tell me, you're not going to convince me that there was like, yeah, people will take advantage of a situation, but longer play, we can let them double down and watch them hemorrhage money. So meanwhile, me, Bill Gates, or me, someone with a crap ton of money to just invest in something, I can watch that stock go down and down and down and down. And then I'll just get to spend $8-10 million, however much Bill Gates invested. It was way more than that. And then a couple months later, here we're going to have this big announcement, this $100 million announcement with UFC. Guess what happened? All of that investment that Bill Gates just bought when it was low, it just became a lot of money. And you're not going to convince me with just Bud Light and all of it in general that it's all money laundering. It's all legalized money laundering. We had Sam Bankman-Fried recently just pled guilty to, or not pled guilty, he was found guilty on all 7 charges that he was eventually brought to trial with. And how many hundreds of millions of dollars that he donate to political people, and no one's batting an eye about that. So like the whole,
didn't he offer like millions of dollars to get Trump not to run for the presidency?
He has, I'll have to pull it up because we could do a deep dive into there was in the top 10 donations was over $40 million, and 98% of that went to the Democratic Party.
Right. But he also like cornered Trump and was like, hey, I'll give you.
He said a lot,
$20 million to like not run.
He said a lot of things like that, but the only receipts that we have are to the Democratic Party. Like you're going to go very far down in that list before you get to a Republican or someone on the Republican side of the fence. So the majority of all of that billions of dollars that he stole from his clients, and then I'll use the term laundered it because now it's clean when you donate it to someplace else. The Biden Victory Fund hasn't said squat about the $50 million or $50,000 that was given to them. They haven't given it up. I don't hear any donors saying, hey, we need to give up this dirty money. It's like the whole, like the Bud Light and all of it's, I had to take a step back to see who are the players in the game or where the money, because just like you were saying, you got to follow the money because that's where everything is dictated by. It's power, but it's money by virtue of power.
Well, Eric, what was do you know what UFC's biggest contract was? Like, is $100 million to the UFC like big money? Like, do you know questions asked?
Definitely money. I mean, I think they could have taken it from several different companies, but yeah, I mean, I would guess $100 million probably got to be pretty significant.
Do you think they got?
I don't think it would have been their only one. I don't think it would have been their only contribution, but I know we had some ad reads to do today. I want to hit up the live chats really quick. We've got a bunch of people in the live chats, some paid members, some not paid members. We've got Mer530 dropping $10 in the super chats. She said, or he says, sorry, Mer530, I always picture you as a girl, even though I think you're actually a dude. $10 for Poop Hole Loophole. The Poop Hole Loophole should have maybe been the title of today's show, the Poop Hole Loophole. But I definitely want to, we got Michael Hendricks up in the chat saying rant, rant, rant. There's a rumor around AB that they intentionally did this to boost Modelo because they saw a change in demographics, thought that was unlikely and funny. Now, listen, I'm a huge Modelo fan. I don't mind seeing Modelo be on top for a little while. I'd like to see a nice little comeback from PBR if that shows you how white trash I really am. Jay Keefe, 21, actually was in town for our Vinny Montez stand-up comedy event for Badges and Boxes that happened up in Albemarle and then down in Raleigh. And he and I went to go pick up some beer. And the first thing that we both saw was just how fully stocked Bud Light was and how empty on Sunday football day. How empty Yingling was, how empty Rolling Rock was, Modelo, like everything was just bare bones, and Bud Light was jam packed. So I still think they're definitely feeling. I think Anheuser-Busch is still feeling it, but yeah, I mean, it's a weird move that Dana did that. But then in another token, like it's exciting to see Dana do some of the other things he does. But then you hear some of the fighters not getting paid. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know about Dana White. I don't know if I like him or I hate him. I guess I don't really know enough. I guess I just meet him in person.
At the end of the day,
he's a
businessman. So he's going to make decisions for his business. So if his business he has a problem with paying fighters, and someone just said, "Hey, we got $100 million if you put Bud Light on all our stuff."
It would be good to know, like Eric said, was there other people offering that or enough money to where he could go, it's not $100 million, but I don't want Bud Light, so I'll take 75 from this company, right? You know what I'm saying? Or was there 5 companies offering $100 million, and there's some weird underlying reason why Bud Light was chosen, like the fucking. They got Dana White now, and he's going to be wearing, the cloaks, and he's part of the elite.
Yeah, but he came out with Kid Rock and everybody, and Donald Trump was there at the fight. So, yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's probably just a lot more business than usual. Speaking of business, we got some sponsors that keep this show on the road every day. It's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's a ball trimmer sent from outer space. Gentlemen, our friends over at Manscaped have been working night and day to bring you below the waist grooming experience like none other with their brand new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. This is the one. This is the Lawnmower 5.0, the one that John hilariously said it maps out your balls and then it shaves your balls by itself and returns itself to its charging port. Not quite, but we're getting there. We're talking about next generation trimmer with interchangeable blade heads for whatever shave your mind can imagine. I want a good American flag trim in my pubes. I think that
dude, it's such a good product that you'll shave your balls and your butthole, right? And then your taint, and then your face razor sucks, and you're like, I want to use my Manscaped on my face, and you're like, but you still use it because that's how fucking good it is.
And then you kind of
you guys don't do that.
Oh, you gotta sniff first.
Upgrade your grooming game to the Ultra Sphere this year by going to manscaped.com for 20% off. All you got to use is the code WOLFPACK. High tech for low places. Manscaped. AI is cool, but I think this might be the biggest technological advance the world has ever seen. Honestly, I'm talking it's got the light. It's got the non-nicking ball trimmer, the dual LEDs, baby. The Weed Whacker 2.0 also features skin safe technology as well. That gets you nicks and snags as you're going through your ears and your nose. When you get the 5.0 package, you get the crop preserver ball deodorant that keeps your balls from sticking to your leg. You get the toner and the other free gifts. I think like some underwear come in there. That was pretty rad. I just got it. 20% off right now, plus shipping free shipping with the code WOLFPACK. Manscaped.com is 20% off plus free shipping with the code WOLFPACK. I can promise you've never seen a ball trimmer look like a spaceship. Get yours today. Our folks at Manscaped. Elon Musk probably made it look like a big giant dick now. Dick trimmer.
Shimming, bro. What the hell's shimming?
Trimming. Trimming.
Shimming sounds like something you do when you put on a dress and you just play around with some Bud Light for a while.
And become
No, a
woman of the
shim,
year.
like a shim, a she, him, shim.
Let's jump into our next thing since we're talking all about fighting and all those things. Have you seen the story? Oh no, you know what? Let's go back really fast. I apologize. I apologize to everybody in the chats. I've got a really big meeting that I'm preparing for at 2:00 today. Really big. It's about the book. I'm so excited for this meeting. So my brain is all over the place. Let's play the Gavin Newsom clip really quick. Now, listen, if anything that you've heard about San Francisco being cleaned up overnight isn't bad enough, this is what Gavin Newsom had to say about it.
Oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true because it's true. But it's also true for months and months and months prior to APEC, we've been having different conversations.
You know, Failure to Stop, some people on the streets are saying Failure to Stop podcast is the #1 podcast where first responders go to be informed and entertained. And that's true because it's true. But the truth is,
we've been talking about it for years.
We've been talking about it for years, but we just decided to make it happen. So, and I wanted that clip to play out, but mainstream media has done a great job of ending that clip there and going on to commentary so that you can't rip it in its totality. But in its totality, he says it's true because it's the truth. And we've been talking about it for a lot of years. And then he is the one that says, when your mom's coming home or you have company coming over, it's almost across the board. You clean up the house before your company gets there. Everybody does it. And that's what he's saying. And my argument would be like, no, Mr. Newsom, no, we don't clean up our home because other people come over. We keep our home deep cleaned and cleaned all the time because I don't want my kids to live in fucking squalor.
Like back in the day when we were in the Army, they had the 7 Army core values. It changed a lot since then, but you guys might be around back then. One of them was doing the right thing when no one is looking. Like you don't clean up just because mom and dad are coming home. You clean up because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to clean up, take care of your things because it's a bigger thought. Like, yes, making your bed, like there's individual things, but there's a bigger thought when you take care of things, when you just take pride in your stuff and you have self-pride, and there's all these values and things that you get instilled to you just by, keeping your room clean. Something very simple. But that follows on to life, because then if you don't keep your office clean or you don't keep your car clean, as soon as your car breaks down, well, why did it break down? Well, because you didn't wash it for years and there's all this gunk and crap got into it. Now it's all rusted and it's a piece of crap because you didn't take care of it. You didn't clean it. So there's a lot, it's a bigger picture thing. But the fact that they spend as much money as they do in San Francisco on all of the homeless problems that they have, the problems that they have created by their own policies, that they can overnight come in and make it clean. That just makes you wonder, where is all of your money going? Well, it's true that we're wasting some of the money on things, but it's also true that we're wasting all of it on other things too. And it's nothing to do with what we're supposed to be spending on. So if I was living in San Francisco, first of all, I'd be getting a U-Haul and getting the hell out of there like yesterday. But second of all, I'd be asking, where are my tax dollars going? What have they done for the last 5 years? What have they done in the last 4 or 5 years? We had an app crash because of the amount of human feces that is in your city.
Put that up there again. Put the shit up there. I love it. It makes me smile every time.
San Francisco is now known for 2 things: the gayest city and the shittiest city.
That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. And Mur530 in the chat says homeless is a way to generate more tax revenue, keep what's left of California middle class in check. Now that the laws support protecting the homeless as well, even when you are defending yourself or your home. Felony Melanie wanted to see the poop app and we just showed it to her. Thank you guys for being in the live chat. Thanks for being paid YouTube members. Thank you for all of our Patreon members. By the way, if you are just an audio listener and you're just kicking on all this free content on your cop car, what you could do is not give us money, but you could go and like and subscribe to our podcast. Go to Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this right now, and leave us a 5-star rating and review. You guys have no idea how far those 5-star rating and reviews go. It's absolutely important. And then just to share our show and share our treatment, I'm going to try to kind of fall in line with what Sean Ryan does. And we're going to start making memes and making them accessible to anybody so that you can go and download those memes or reels from the show, and you can share them out as you wish. I really like that way of doing things. So if you find something that you want to make a reel, we also have our Wolfpack, our FTS_Wolfpack private group that everybody is having a good time in. And so we appreciate all of that. Moving on to some big fight news. We had a fight on the Congress floor. This was at a congressional hearing where a Senator Mark Wayne, which I've always had a thing about people with two first names. You got to be a special kind of someone to have two first names. And then another Teamsters president, and I've got my feelings and thoughts on the Teamsters, and I'd love to weigh in with you, Tyler, on what your thoughts are of unions and pertaining to first responders. I know that we're kind of forced to have them, which is kind of the way of the mob. I also think the Chamber of Commerce has worked this and generally in the same way. Now, some cities they manage it better than others, but it's really just a bullying system. And if you're not a part of us, then you're against us type sitch. But the two guys wanted to, and they mutually basically agreed. We'll play the clip here in a second. Well, let us know what you think, but mutually agreed to engage in mutual combat on the Congress floor. Too bad the pussy Bernie Sanders, God, could he be more of a pussy? Broke it up. Go ahead and run that clip, Josh.
In fact, you tweeted at me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And let me read what the last one said. It said, greedy CEO who pretends like he's self-made. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big
Oh,
guy.
hold, stop it.
Is that your solution, everybody?
Yo,
No, sit down.
he's taking his
No,
razor.
you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond?
Hold it. If we can, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
Hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't.
I didn't.
I
You
want to
said
see it, baby.
I saw that clip this morning you posted, and it took me a minute because I didn't know that happened. So I had to go back and research and then watch the clip again. And I was like, oh, damn.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
I'm just going to point out that it helps to have someone like me on your team that can help do research for you so you know who you can talk shit about and who you can't talk shit about. Because if you did any bit of research as a Teamster, you'd have found out that Mark Wayne Mullen is a former undefeated record of 5-0, and he has been inducted into the Oklahoma Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Right, but it's 5-0 for professional MMA fights.
Yep. So, i.e., that's not
can
someone
throw
I would run my mouth off to.
No. And his tweets are pretty ridiculous. I mean, he calls the guy out for standing on a step stool at the podium. And that's one of the pictures you see on those papers that Mark Wayne is shuffling there. You can actually see the picture because one of the tweets was like, this guy's he suffers from little man syndrome and he has to stand on a step stool so he can see over the podium. I don't know if that's a little man syndrome thing or I feel like if I couldn't see over a podium, I would just get a step stool. I don't see there's any narcissism in that. It didn't make him taller than the other guy. It just made him to where the cameras could see his full face.
Well, the other thing is yeah.
What's that?
What's your? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. That what's your issue with unions?
For myself?
Yeah, personally.
I don't think the Teamsters really does anything lobbying wise we're not allowed to have unions in North Carolina anyway. They don't have lobbying power, but they give you legal assistance for free. But you pay this, everybody pays these $30 a month. But I haven't really heard of there's not very many people that the Teamsters have ever really helped. Everybody I know that's tried to use the Teamsters still got fired. Even
you're talking about first responders. You're talking about cops. You're talking about cops, right?
Yeah.
This is law enforcement world. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, because unions in general have a very communist feel to them. But they are the way if you want to look at it, down the middle, it's capitalism, baby. If somebody starts a business and they're a CEO and they want to legally have employees and do everything just at the threshold of legally taking care of their employees, that's his right. It's his money. If the employees don't want to work there, go find somewhere else. But unions, right? Let's say like fair to stop takes off. Eric Tanzi's fucking a millionaire, dude. He is fucking killing it. And me and Deadleg, you ain't taking care of us no more. And me and Deadleg go, you know what? There ain't going to be no Wednesday breakdown or Wednesday, political news. That's like that power of a union, right? But it's still kind of communist in a way.
Yeah. Or you take it to the other stand where Eric makes his $1 million for all the work that he's put in, but he's also paying tons of other people a salary, paying for tons of other colleges. And without the Wednesday show, nobody would get anything. You know what I mean? And then you leave and you go. I mean, at the end of the day, I would say just go and let's find there's always somebody that's more replaceable. I don't think there's anything wrong with the CEO of a business, and I love that, the Starbucks people talk about the CEO. You don't know what goes into that to make the millions. You didn't know about the dropping out of college, or you didn't know the working, 5 different jobs, writing a business plan, pitching your business plan, learning how to pitch your business plan, getting on YouTube and looking up how to write a business plan and going through all the things and cashing in your 401k and eating spaghetti and meatballs with only garage sale toys for your kids on Christmas because all of your money is in all the other businesses that you started. And you did that so you could make millions. You didn't do that so that somebody could just not do anything except being employed and then they can make millions.
I know.
So and I can see kind of the, I always feel bad with especially when it comes to the Starbucks union, because I'm like, guys, it's why are we treating Starbucks like it's a career?
There's a Starbucks union.
Well, that's what everything. There is now. Big, it's a big debacle. But yeah, I got a problem. I got a problem with that. And so the unions do help out. Somebody put in here that the semi truck unions. I guess that's probably good. There, it keeps you from having to drive for thousands and thousands of hours, and it kind of gets you paid. But
unions for us are different as cops, though.
But
for
yeah,
cops,
I'm talking for law enforcement and everything. I just haven't seen anything that I feel like the Teamsters and the PBA kind of bully you into doing it and then scare you into doing it. But I've never really seen they're like, well, we lobbied for you to get more pay. Well, no, what you did was one guy got a whole bunch of other cops to show up to the meeting. We presented that. Why did we need to be a part of a PBA to do that? The lawyers didn't do that. The PBA didn't really do that. I mean, maybe I just don't see it enough because I don't go to the meetings. And that's probably true. I probably don't know enough. All I know is I paid my dues and they didn't do shit for me. And I never saw shit that they did for me, except whine and bitch about how they don't have enough support from cops.
A lot of unions don't have the power that they used to have. I know up north, like north, like New York and Pennsylvania and all them, they have the ability to say, we're bringing back this cop that you wrongfully terminated. But down here in Florida, man, it's almost like that they have to have a good relationship with the chief or nothing will get.
I feel like the pieces of shit that should get fired for fucking up are always the ones that the Teamsters help. And then the ones that get thrown under the bus and were good cops and good people. I feel like it's always the cop with the DWI or, some kind of sexual misconduct allegation that always gets away with it from some kind of loophole or some kind of, you know what I mean? Whereas the honest dude that's just yeah, I fucked up, I'm out. For instance, me running my opening up my distillery, the union was all about having my back. They even told me to get fired. They even said this is the first time in 20 years we've ever said to get fired because you have a big case here. Give that 3 or 4 months, dude. I never heard from them ever again. And then when I did hear about them, they're like, well, that's your responsibility. I'm like, well, no. I did all the paperwork that you told me to do, and you never called me back. As
soon as they realized that there was something for them wasn't there, the ability for them to make a case for themselves. Look, we helped Eric get this, or we helped this case. It's always there. I'm not a big union guy. I was a union guy. I paid in the union the entire time, and I wouldn't say the union helped me, but there was a point where I would come into work and it was like, hey, We're going to have to talk. I'm like, all right, we'll just call the union. Just every day that I come to work, just call the union rep and have him here. And we'll just have a standing meeting every day I go to work. I said, but then when I go to see you guys for a hostile workplace environment, and I go, well, where's your evidence? Well, we had to meet with the union rep every day I came to work. So how is that not a hostile work environment? How does not everybody have to work with the union every day to come to work? So I've seen it to where they might be able to help, but I know, like, one of my close personal friends, they did not help him at all whatsoever. The department fucking wrecked his life. They wrecked his personal life. They wrecked his credit. They wrecked his professional life. I'm hoping at some point he'll want to come on here and just dish about it. But it's one of those things where it's water on the bridge. The people who are there aren't going to be in positions anymore. And that they're like, for us to air the dirty laundry won't do anything for anybody. It's not going to right any wrongs, but it would help prove a point to like, if you think that, they'll have your back, they won't. Like, we had a part with our union where it was bargained at headquarters Marine Corps about uniforms. And I worked in Hawaii on an island in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by tropical water. And they wanted us to wear long sleeve uniforms to match our Marines. Well, the fact is we're not Marines. We were never Marines. I was never a Marine. I don't ever claim the title. I don't want the title. I didn't go through boot camp for that. I went to the Army. I was the other kind of dumb. But for us to be civilians, to have to be adhere to the stupidest uniform like that, and they said, well, we bargained it at headquarters Marine Corps. It still took 3 more months for the people at our agency to finally follow what was bargained. So the unions, to me, they're money grab. They're nothing but a money
I think on the surface, right? I agree with you 100% on that. It's like the Chamber of Commerce. I think in theory the Chamber of Commerce works, but I think that oftentimes it becomes like a bully move. It's like, if you're not a part of the Chamber of Commerce and you don't pay your dues, then you're not gonna. We'll basically run you out of town. Essentially, you'll be a part of us, And I was even kind of threatened by, or at least I took it as a threat by our local Chamber of Commerce when I opened up my business. I left it off. I never participated with the chamber, and I canceled our Chamber of Commerce, I think, like very early in its first year, because I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to rely on the Chamber of Commerce. And it's not just that, it's just that once you're in the Chamber of Commerce, then if you're not fully participating, even though you're pulling your dues, then they're going to talk shit about you for not fully participating, and then they're still going to blackball you. So really, it's like you have to pay to be in the chamber, and then you have to participate in the chamber, and you have to do what they say. And if you go against anything, like if somebody in the chamber is running, but you don't really agree with that person and you vote against them and it gets out, and then the chamber makes a big deal about it, then your business is still ruined by the chamber. So it's basically you become a slave to the Chamber of Commerce. I feel the same way about the unions.
I mean, the Chamber of Commerce, though, that seems like a good old boys club for business owners. I don't really think that the Chamber of Commerce in a union, I mean, they have like similar characteristics maybe, but I mean, because that would suck to have a business and you want to do your own thing.
Well, I mean, the Teamsters
like, I don't want to be part of this.
Like, if you're seeing the Teamsters packets, like it's 100% like liberal Democrat. So like, what if you're a Teamster and you don't want to vote Democrat?
Yeah, are you talking about being a member of their union or an actual admin?
Being a part of the Teamsters union. But like, if you become a part of the Teamsters, you still get all the Teamsters packet, and it's like, 100% Biden simping. Even if those policies don't help the union, they still 100% back whoever's Democrat.
But it doesn't affect you as a union member if you get that packet and you're like, oh, these fucking liberal Teamsters, and then you throw it in the trash. Whereas the Chamber of Commerce, if you're a business owner in that chamber, from what I understand, I'm learning this Chamber of Commerce from you, and you go, guys, I'm not doing this shit, and everybody turns and looks at you and they go, oh, all right, Eric. And then the next meeting, now Eric's running into fucking problems that never would have been.
Right. No, I mean, and that's true. And I just kind of feel like the Teamsters, like on a larger scale, they lobby, and I think they lobby in the same corrupt way that the Chamber of Commerce does. Probably not like to you individually as a cop, but towards businesses, it's very much pay to play. Oh, okay. So you want to have this policy with your guys. However, like maybe we need a contract deal over here. I mean, they've been notorious for these mob, like what was it, the stories about the union back in the day where it was like the the construction companies didn't want to be a part of the union. So then all of a sudden the union was like, oh, well, then our trash trucks aren't going to come that direction. We're going to reroute our trash trucks.
Didn't
the
Teamsters,
you know what I'm talking about? Like nickel and dime shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, good luck building your thing. You're not going to have any dumpsters to throw it in because you didn't join the Teamsters, and all of the trash companies here are Teamsters. So you should probably join the Teamsters so you could get some trash pickup. You know, that's
didn't
a very
Teamsters originate from the mob? Like their roots,
Yes.
their roots. Yeah,
Yes.
they're mob.
Yes, Jimmy Hoffa, the whole 9 yards.
But worst case is if you're going to talk shit, make sure you can back it up. Because I don't know that the Teamster thought that he'd be able to tweet some shit off and then a couple weeks later be sitting across from them in a Senate floor, giving testimony. I think that's pretty ballsy. Not only that, I mean,
I want to see it. I think the American people want to see it too.
Yep.
A little fight in mutual combat.
Yep. Well, that's what I would say. That's what we need.
One, you would like, if that was a thing, our politicians would have to be in shape, or at least be willing to be in shape in case that moment arises. They probably have to do a little less drinking, a little less blowing cocaine, and then they wouldn't be so high or so addicted that they have to have somebody either bring it into the White House and leave it for them and get caught, or they're so stupid and high that they left their own cocaine at the White House. But then they would have to then kind of ask themselves before they start talking at these chamber shit shows, which, by the way, ever since the the congressional hearings, everything have been televised, it's become more of like a who can be more sensational and who can almost be like viral at these meetings instead of being professional at these meetings. But now you would have to be able to back that up with mutual combat.
Well, dude, our fucking political system's so fucking stupid anyways. It's like, why you might as well entertain us until the world ends. That's why, like, Donald Trump came in, like the president, like everyone's like, oh, like, dude, this world is fucking on its way out. Like, society. So let's at least like see what this WWE script's going to do for us. It can't hurt.
Right. And it's very Idiocracy, the movie. Very on brand with Idiocracy.
Electrolytes.
It's got electrolytes. Okay. Well, now we have Eric Adams. Let's go over to Eric. Did we talk about Eric Adams already?
Nope,
No.
not yet.
We haven't talked about Eric Adams yet. We got the mayor, the New York City mayor, who's in a little bit of hot water. And this is all stemming from, Josh, you probably know more about it than I do, but it's all stemming from a skyscraper, a massive 35-story skyscraper. And it was supposed to be built by the government of Turkey, right? Am I right on that?
I haven't looked that far into it, other than I knew that his staffer was being investigated.
Let's make this easy. Let me share the screen.
In fact,
oops, I shared the wrong one. Let me just share.
1, 2.
Sorry, stop that right quick. Let me stop. Well, yeah, I'll share my screen with you, and I'll just go ahead and read straight off of the let's see. This is ABC 7.
I've got the Times up.
What's that?
I got the New York Times up.
Oh, you got the New York Times article up? Let me go. I don't have that one up. Pull it up for me. Let me read it really quick.
The FBI seizes Eric Adams' phone and campaign investigation intensifies. It's a criminal inquiry to whether his 2021 campaign conspired with the Turkish government and others to funnel money into its coffers.
Yeah, and he did an under the table deal, as I've read it last night. And basically, that he kind of passed them on their fire alarm things. I'll read what I have here. From this article here, it says Adams said it is no. All right, here we'll go from the top here. On Tuesday, Adams, this is from ABC 7. On Tuesday, Adams said that he contacted then Fire Commissioner Daniel oh boy, how would you pronounce this name? Nigro.
I wouldn't. I would just spell it out loud.
Daniel Nigro.
The caucus of my skin would not.
Nigro.
It's
two
Nigro.
G's. 2 G's is the other sounding I. 1 G is Nigro.
Nigro. Okay. All right. On Tuesday, Adams said he contacted then Fire Commissioner Daniel Nigro when a Turkish official expressed concern that its new East Side building would not open on time in September of 2021. But he said he was only fulfilling his duty as an elected official to help constituents navigate the system. Basically, he said, you guys are coming in town. He made a deal with the Turkish government here that he could help things come along. And I think what the investigation is did he receive money from Turkey for doing this? For saying, oh, the fire marshals haven't done their thing, but we're going to let you open up regardless, and we're going to have everybody hush. And they're trying to see now if this was a pay-to-play type scenario. Adam said it is normal for an elected official to look into a constituent concerns. And as Brooklyn has the largest Turkish community in the city, it was only natural for him to forward the question to Nigro. This is what elected officials do when a constituency reaches out to us for assistance to another agency. We reach out to the agency. Adam said, I don't think there's an elected official in the city like many of them reached out to me and said, Eric, this is what we do every day. You reach out to an agency and ask them to look into the matter. You don't reach out to an agency to compel them to do anything, because I had no authority to do anything. I was the borough president. So either way, his phones and electronics were seized in the open in broad daylight in between meetings, like walking from one place to another place, which, made for very theatric news. And then the house of the people who manage all of their donors was also raided in the search warrant. So definitely something to look out. And New York Mayor Eric Adams has been in the news a lot lately.
Dealing with all of the homeless problem that they have.
Well, I love how the FBI are in this story are the lawmen down the middle, no politicians safe, but then last year the FBI or 2 years ago was, working in cahoots with the government to, ruin people's reputations and stuff like that. So as soon as I saw that article, FBI seizes, I'm like, well, you can't trust the FBI now. I mean, I know they have a different, it's not Comey anymore, right? They have another head of the FBI, but still.
Right. I think trust for the FBI is at an all-time low. Just like Congress, I was reading earlier today that the approval rating for Congress right now is at 17%. They have a 17% approval rating. That's like the worst in history. So we don't even trust Congress, and FBI has more or less been weaponized by Congress and
make Congress fight. So, we should make our senators and congressmen fight. You want to represent us, you fucking fist fight.
I think everybody should fight, because then you kind of get over subtle differences and you could come to the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, in the army, you guys are all in the army.
Your senses. Anytime two dudes throw blows at each other, they kind of have that release and they come to their senses.
It's the most functioning way for a unit of people to still go forward with problems, right? Look at cop work. We're not allowed, back when cops were cops, they used to take off their fucking belt and scrap in the parking lot. Now you even suggest that to somebody, you're done. But in the military,
it was really funny that when I was a rookie, that happened. My training officer wanted to fight another training officer, and they were like, dude, take your shit off. And everybody was like, yeah, let's do it. So we went into the gym. They took their fucking shit off. And next thing you know, we're going out the side door, out into the parking lot, up over a cop car. It was crazy. And then they squashed it in-house. Like, the lieutenant was like, this can never happen again. It can never leave the gym. Like, you can't spill out of the station and into the parking lot. And I was like, what? Like, or next time we'll go to IA if it doesn't stay in the gym. But yeah, I mean, there's an old school way of dealing things. Last topic of the day, we've got Adam Johnson, the trial. A man has been arrested on suspicion. This is coming from theathletic.com. A man has been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter and subsequently bailed out following the death of hockey player Adam Johnson. They're not naming the suspect here, but I think it's safe to go ahead and say at this point it's Matt Petgrave. Johnson died after being cut in the neck. We all know that. A statement read that officers investigating the death of the Nottingham Panthers player Adam Johnson have made an arrest, again, going to go ahead and say it was Matt Petgrave. I guess in the UK, they don't put out who the suspect was. Detectives have today arrested a man on suspicion of manslaughter. He remains in police custody at this time. Adam's family is being supported through the investigation by our officers. They have asked for their privacy to be respected. It was confirmed on Wednesday that the man in question had been released on police bail with the investigation continuing. Detective Chief Superintendent Bex Horsfall said, "Our investigation launched immediately following this tragedy, and we have been carrying out extensive inquiries ever since to piece together the events which led to the loss of Adam and the unprecedented circumstances." Goes on to quote, "We have been speaking to highly specialized experts, as they should, in their field to assist in our inquiries, and continue to work closely with Health and Safety Department at the City Council, which is supporting our ongoing investigations." Which is what we said from the beginning has to happen. You pretty much have to look into it. There's a lot of people. It's absolutely debatable. A lot of people saw a kick. A lot of people saw something a little bit more nefarious. It's same with the Tony Stewart case. I think we've beaten that horse to death. Kind of the same thing. And it is debatable. If you go and look at our Failure to Stop Instagram page, where Tyler from Anti-Hero actually made us a really cool reel, and the debate is still going. That reel's been up for over a week.
Oh, they're still talking about it in the comments?
Yeah, there was a big long comment today.
Yep.
And the guy actually finished it with, "Sounds like you have a lot of Tony Stewart simps in here." And I was like, man, that's
we should have tagged Tony Stewart.
Let's see if he would weigh in.
Well, the thing is before Tony Stewart, before that incident happened, there have been times where people have got out of the cars on the racetrack and they've got hit by other cars on the track and they've got killed, either other drivers or a track worker. Like, it's a known thing that you might get hit by a race car on a racetrack when they're doing a race, regardless of what color the flags are or what color whether the condition of the race is. It's a known thing. So even before the Tony Stewart incident, there was a big thing because way back here, way back in the way, like 30 some years ago, 35 years ago, I had my NASCAR license when I was 16 years old. So I actually participated in the races. So even way back then, there was, you do not get out of the car. So like, we knew the potential for that to happen is there. So the rules in place that happen.
But like, even though you shouldn't, walk onto somebody's property in the middle of the night, just because somebody walks onto your property doesn't mean you just get to kill them.
That's true. That's a fair analogy. That's a fair analogy,
But if I have a sign outside my property that says no trespassing, trespassers will be shot on site. Like, there's conditions.
Yeah, but just because you have a sign doesn't make it legal.
Well, that's not that it's legal or not legal. If we know that there's a potential for this to happen, we've said that don't do this. Like, you can only put so many warning signs up before someone gets hit by a train.
The better analogy is Eric's got a shooting range. Pow, he's shooting on his own property, and then somebody just was like, "Well, I'm gonna walk through your property," and then he gets hit. It's like, well, you knew the shooting range.
Well, that's a different. Obviously, change the facts, change the outcome. So yes, much different. But in this case, like, okay, if I say we have an open fire range, don't walk onto the property, you might get shot. And somebody walks on the property, and then I aim my gun at them, look them in the eyes, and I shoot them for it.
So you're bringing in the intent, Eric.
Huh?
That's the debate. That's the whole debate.
Case, it looks like he made it looks like he went.
He
did. You can hear it. He goes.
It looks like it, and you can hear that. But if you weren't, I would say you weren't there, because we've watched the full 2 minutes from the time that he wrecks the guy out in the first place to the time that he gets out of the car to the time that he gets hit by the side tire. Like, that whole sequence of events is less than 3 minutes long for the Tony Stewart one. Now, for me to talk about hockey, I've played it a little bit when I was a kid, like roller hockey, but rollerblade hockey and regular hockey is not the same thing. I don't know all the rules and the nuances of hockey. I've only one other time I've only ever seen it that somebody had their skate come up and cut somebody, and it was on a freak accident. So
one of the biggest rules in hockey is you're not supposed to kill people. That's
those are usual general rules and other things, but with the Tony Stewart one, I wouldn't say I give him a complete pass, but the rule was clearly there, and even after that, it's something that they beat that to death, that you do not get out of the car. And even
Yeah, but I think
sometimes
when he
now,
lost the civil suit.
I don't think he was found guilty. He wasn't charged with anything.
No, but the civil suit, he was found guilty and he had to pay out pretty big.
Yeah. They didn't release the numbers.
Fact check it for me. Michael Hendricks in the chat says negligence is enough. Keep in mind that there is a much lower burden of proof in court for that. Bosco Archer says he likes John when he defends Taylor Swift. Manslaughter doesn't require intent for Michael Hendricks. I don't know. In this case, I said that there has to be an investigation, and we're going to learn a lot of things through the investigation that the American public and podcasters like myself aren't going to know. Like, for instance, I've already learned that in order to turn one of those dirt track cards, that you have to accelerate into the turn. That's how they work. And so that would make sense when you hear the vroom and he hits the guy. So if that is the case, and I physically was an investigator and I got into a car and I would try to turn it without going vroom, and then when I go vroom and it really turns, then it makes sense, more of an accident than a killing hit. And then that's why the judicial system that's why the court system is the way it is. It's not based on what my opinion or what I think. It's based on as many facts as possible. And in this case with the kick, it's as many facts as you can put together. It's going to take investigating. I would literally ask Matt Petgrave what was going through your head. I would ask Matt Petgrave's co-workers, his co-players, hey, did he say in the locker room at all that he was going to fuck somebody up tonight? Did he say he was going to end somebody's shit tonight? What was his attitude like going into this game? Was there any kind of talk about him getting, taking a player out or anything? And you start hearing different conversations or different things from other players, and that might be enough. We might have found some beef beforehand, before the kick, that would play into this. So I agree that there should be an investigation. I would just like to know what comes out of the investigation for educational purposes. I want to make sure that our judicial system isn't going off of public outcry either.
The Tony Stewart, when they settled the civil one out at court, the things aren't public. The criminal side of it, they had no charge. And then this one is in UK, because here in the United States, questions I have: how do you get arrested and then released on bail on something when there's no charges?
I don't know.
Because that was Romania. That's a whole different fun thing. But I mean, they're trying to I get that they say that they want to have the people involved respect their privacy. This was on TV. Everybody's seen it, and it's all over YouTube. Privacy is gone. The inherent the public, the general public is invested in this. Now there's people going to be wanting to watch to see if there's something that the NHL is going to have to implement, a new rule or a new thing that we.
You know what? If you were to come out as one of these departments or agencies and just explain what I just said, it's like, hey guys, listen, because we know that it looks bad and the perception is that he killed himself. We've got a lot that we have to cover. We have already interviewed several people. We're getting before statements, after statements. We're learning how to play hockey. We're watching tons of film. We're watching other cases just like it. There's way more into this than it looks like he got kicked in the throat and he's gone for murder. Like we're talking about somebody's freedom and somebody else's life, and we don't want to get this wrong. And that's the purpose of our whole judicial system, is to make sure that we leave no stone unturned. If we just came out and were articulated it in such a way to the American public as transparency, then I think a lot of people would be like, oh, okay, guys, do what you do. But instead we don't say anything. The conspiracy theories start going, you get bad rumors, that's such an important detail to know, that you can't turn one of those cars without revving the engine. And wouldn't it be nice to know that the investigators got into one of these track cars and physically tried to turn it so that they could learn about it? It would make the American public and the average citizen have so much more faith in the system.
Well, it's like criminals. We want as a society, we want answers for inherent risk. And Drew brought it up, and it's actually a very good point. You get in a fucking car and you drive that fucking 2-ton killing machine and you crash and you die. There's not always someone at fault. And even if it is at fault, is it you can't even get manslaughter out of it. So, inherent risk of ice hockey is you're fucking going 15, what do we decide, 20 miles an hour, and you got blades on your feet, and you're in a contact sport. Once in a blue moon, that weapon that's on your foot that you don't use as a weapon but can be turned into a weapon is going to hit somebody's face.
I'm honestly surprised there haven't been more people that being cut by skates. Like legitimately.
Yeah.
Because I understand, from what I understand of how sharp they are, because it was like a weird rabbit hole that I went down because I seen the first video, because it was the hockey or the goalie, wasn't it, that got cut, and he was right by the exit. They got him right off the exit, right to the pyramid. They said if it was at the other end of the ice, that the likelihood of them saving was. So it goes down this big rabbit hole of how many people have been cut with the, what stability are. This is something that you have to, is it a pokey blade or is it a slicey blade? What kind of, what kind of cutting device is it? Then what kind of material are the uniforms? Because they're getting hit all the time. So does it not poke through the uniforms? Does it not poke through the pads? Why has this not happened before? So like, these things are sharp.
I know, right? Like, but I guess it's because they have the gloves on, because you'd think like fingers would be getting cut off. But I get when you have all those pads. Eric Watson in the chat says, Tansy, I am vaping while wearing my corn shirt. LOL. I bet you have the baggy black pants on with all the pockets and the suspenders like dangling from them. That's
Hot Topic.
Yeah, just like straight out of 1990s Hot Topic. Hey, I love it, dude. Been there, done that. Mur530 says, lately, there have been legal decisions made on the public opinion. Scary. New York train station dude, Trump, Derek Chauvin, or whatever. It's been a rough few years. And that's my point, too. Yeah, that's what we don't want. That's what I've always preached on this show. That's the stance I've always taken, is you can't just find somebody guilty. You have to think about their innocence first. A lot of people confuse that with me trying to simp with these guys or just trying to be against. I know that's what I would want. If something happened to me and I was being investigated, I would want them to assume my innocence and prove my innocence first, rather than just saying, oh, he's guilty. Let's show you all the things that he's guilty. Because in this case, it's pretty fucking easy. He brought his knee in, he extended his leg out, and a knife blade hit the dude in the throat, and he's dead. Whereas, I'm just saying, what if, then you go and have like a real investigator that tries to go into it with a different mindset, and you learn something totally different after watching films, that when somebody's actually clipped this way, literally their first response is to kick their legs out, because then they kind of fall differently. And that this has happened in 30 or 40 different cases in the last 2 weeks of hockey. The only difference is that there was nobody there to be kicked. That would be a huge a piece of evidence in this case, but we don't know that because we're not the investigators. But I would want the investigators to be looking at shit like that. Same with the Tony Stewart case. I would want the investigators to be looking at this as if there's got to be some way that Tony didn't mean to do this. And, and then they start to find these things about revving the engine to make the turn. I don't know, but I think as a citizen, as we all do, we don't want the witch hunt. We don't all want to be publicly guilty by media or by netizens. We want to be found guilty by people who know what the fuck they're doing.
Well, and we can all you go against the mob mentality, which is why I love this network.
We have to as a cop. I mean, when you go on scene, even when the whole family says that one dude is the problem, and then you talk to that guy, then we got to figure out, if that guy was married into the family and he happens to be of a different, maybe he's a Latin American and he's not black. Well, then now I understand why auntie and so and so are all putting the blame on them, because they don't like this guy anyway. You never want to go into any kind of case and base the case off of, I mean, let's just take it on an easy level. If a white person hits somebody in the hood, the whole hood will say they saw it and we'll put the blame on the white person. I've seen it 1,000 times. And then you go and you look at the video, and then that person's car didn't pull in till like 4 minutes after the wreck. And you're like, wait, I thought you said you saw this guy on the cell phone hit that guy, but your car doesn't even pull into this driveway for like 4 minutes after. And they're like, oh man, that's what I heard them say over there. And all of a sudden the story started changing. And then you go and look at it, and it's just a different story. It doesn't mean that these people are, that the white guy's innocent or guilty, but there is this like mob gang up mentality. And you always have to be careful of that as a law enforcement officer in any scenario, whether it be domestic or car accidents in the hood and the richer part of towns. You've got to base your investigation off of facts, and you have to go into it with an open mind. That's what the public deserves.
this is one of those kinds. This one specifically with the hockey one. This is one of those situations. This is a story that I guarantee that each one of us has a story that we could 100% factually tell, and the other people here in the podcast, it'd be like, that's hard to believe. I know that you're saying that you were there, but there's a lot of things that we just experience in life, and especially as first responders, even more so than a lot of other people, we just experience just a lot of craziness that you're not going to have a full-on explanation for. It's just, hey, this was a crazy one. This is just something that we maybe look a little bit better in the future, but crazy stuff happens when crazy things are going on. Like two grown adults doing 30 miles an hour each other on a piece of ice. Like that's not regular people stuff. That's not going to Starbucks and getting your coffee. That's a kind of a weird, unique environment. And if something crazy happens in that, yeah, we're going to spend all these hours and taking all this away. But at the end of the day, the two people that really know, the person that really knows the most is the guy that had the leg that kicked out. He knows what he was trying to do or not trying to do. And the other guy was just either there or not trying to there because they were trying to make a play on the puck. And that, like, all these other things that we are putting our own things into it. We need to take us out of it. We have nothing to do with it. We can put our thoughts and notes, but at the end of the day, we weren't there. We won't have to deal with anything that comes from this. We won't deal with any of the rules or regulation that comes down from the European Hockey League or the National Hockey League. Any of these hockey things that come out or rules or new things that are come out, these new pads or this new net guard, I'm not wearing any of this shit because I don't play in hockey. I'm not going to do any of it. So for us to completely say, oh, this is my opinion, we, like you were saying, that gang mentality, we need to kind of just stop that and go, let that happen. Let that be what it is. We have nothing to do with it. Maybe
I think it's okay for the mob to demand an investigation. And I think it's okay for us to want to know what's in the investigation. That's just,
but the problem
that's just human nature. And the problem is that we as the citizens are demanding for an investigation, and then we don't like the outcome of the investigation. But the reason we don't like the outcome of the investigation is because there's no transparency on how the investigation was done. And all of the press releases from these fucking political police chiefs and sheriffs are, they're like over the top, politically correct. And they're like, we can't give you this kind of information. We can't do this and we can't do that. And the only reason why is power. Knowledge is power, and you hold that knowledge and you want to hold it over the American people. No, give the people the knowledge that you have in the investigation that we already know, and let us know how you came to the findings of your investigation, especially if the investigation is over. And I get it, there's appeals processes and all these other processes here, but what it really looks like is the mob is having a play on a lot of these investigations. And Derek Chauvin is a great example of this. He's getting 22 years in prison when the average person in the same crime with a criminal record is only 7 years. And here's a guy with no criminal record taking the charge and getting 22 years for it with no explanation other than it's what the mob wants, which is exactly what we're preaching against here.
Yep.
Because for example, the Chauvin trial specifically, and I'm trying to find the exact number of days that he was physically in court. For us, because you got to think the media, that if you're in court for 8 hours, the media is, you're going to have some places that might report on the exact every bit of the 8 hours, but all they're going to do is they're trying to disseminate what's the most important parts of that 8 hours that I need to get out of that one day. And then you're gonna have court has multiple days of this, and then at the end of it, they're gonna they're gonna do their summary and their this is the last summary statements and their last closing statements or whatever. For the general public, Joe Blow isn't going to go and sit for 40 hours to listen to a trial and then pause and then take notes and go research down whatever that thing is that he has or she doesn't know what they're talking about. They're not going to take that time. The mob mentality is that what it is. We're just looking for the loudest MFer in the room that's screaming to something that sounds what we like, and we're going to go with that. And the facts over feelings part, we need to get away from the feelings. We need to get away from, I feel, I don't think, I feel that, that's great. That's in a different state. That's in a different jurisdiction. That's in a different everything than what you're applying.
What you feel or what you think. It's what the law says.
Because
it's written.
In some states, you have stand your ground where, yes, if you are just walking through the yard and you start blasting people, some states perfectly fine. Other states, you can literally be being murdered. You could defend yourself and you're going to be put on trial. it's this thought process of whatever is going on with me applies to everywhere. It doesn't. It's not. So this is in UK, like we were talking about a minute ago. This is in UK. I don't know how you can get charged, arrested, and be bailed out on something that no charges have been announced. Like, I don't know how
do you get charged without charges? How does that even
how
make
do you
sense?
get arrested without charges?
Arrested.
I mean, maybe in the UK they can bring you in and fingerprint you, and
well, I mean,
you're not going to flee the city and put you on some kind of a bail without
you're
having. It's a very strange. I don't know. I wish I knew more about it, but I don't.
They don't have the rights that Americans have.
Yep, we would say
Right.
we have a person of interest that came in. We wouldn't say that someone got arrested, because if someone got arrested, there's a charge sheet, there's mugging, there's
it's completely different over there. Listen, we've missed a lot of stories this week, not to cut you off, but we are way over our time here, and I have another meeting that I have to get to.
Oh, yeah.
We did not get into a couple of stories. We will try to bring them back up, but we had a gentleman in Las Vegas jumped by a whole bunch of people that nobody is talking about. And this is really up for debate here. I think that as of today, they've made 8 arrests finally. This was a big story. I think this is we don't have time to get into it right now. I wish we did. Maybe we'll do a failure to stop special just about this case. And maybe I'll try to bring somebody in like Brandon Tatum or something to help us break this down. Because it's a very strange case. And if you haven't heard it was a white gentleman who gave up his shoes to 5 or was it 5 or 15?
What was reported is it was in a disagreement over some shoes and some AirPods or something that was stolen, and they all agreed to go to this parking lot after school and fight.
Right. And he was jumped and murdered and killed. But I mean, it was one man first, like, it was 5 people, 15 people, something like that.
They have identified at least 10.
Okay, so yeah, it was like 15, but no arrests were made for like 2 days. And I think the big topic here, though, is that I mean, if we reverse the roles, I'll just say it. If you reverse the roles in this, I really do believe, and not that I think it's right, and I don't think you should do something, tit for tat, but a lot of people are upset because if you would have reversed the races, it would have been a lot bigger deal, and there would have been a larger call for action on this. I think, I'm glad it kind of went the way it did, though, because again, there's more side to the story. Why was this kid jumped? What was he jumped for? Did he have a weapon? There's a lot of questions that the police have to answer. They're not going to do it right now. But I do agree that if the races were reversed, that none of those things would have taken place, and the mob, as we just talked about in this whole episode, would have gotten their way, which is not good, which is not right. So I don't want the mob to get their way in this case either. But I am interested. I am genuinely interested in the investigation and see what comes up, to see if this was something in fact racist or if there's just more to the story. I would like to believe that there's more to the story than racism. I don't think 5 or 15 black kids just wanted to kill a dude because he was white. I think there's probably more to the story. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they were trying to steal his AirPod, and he was like, "I'm standing my ground, and I'm going to stand up to the bullies." And there's that case. Maybe. I hope that's a cool story too, and we'd love to talk about it. The point is, I don't know. Nobody knows, so I'm not going to get out here and start a race war, a culture war, like all the other podcasters are kind of doing. That's why I kept this one towards the end. I was actually, happy that we ran out of time and we didn't get into it, because I do want to see more of those facts before I make a finite statement of what my opinion is on that case. So we'll get up to that, and we missed one other note that we'll have to talk about. Obviously the Gaza Strip's been taken completely over by the IDF. And that's like, again, different story for different days. Okay. Real quick, sports. Got a sports show potentially coming to the network on Thursdays to replace ComCenter. ComCenter will become its own podcast. Don't know if that's going to stay on C- yet, or it's going to go off to another location. Not exactly. I don't really know a lot about that. It's just our year contract with ComCenter is coming to an end. And as far as Failure to Stop Network goes, we're trying to go more like newsy-ish, because that's where our numbers are going, are big. For whatever reason, you guys like these last call things, you like the Monday Uncuffed thing. There's a lot of room for news. However, a lot of people like ComCenter as well, very much so, ComCenter and true crime. So right now what we're trying to do is take best of both worlds. We might move true crime and Com Center to their own separate podcast, probably stay on the network under the C- umbrella. Maybe not. Maybe they want to get picked up by another network and see how that gets managed. I don't know, because we haven't really had the conversation yet. But the point is be prepared to be loosey-goosey. But we are going to add a first responder-based sports show in some way. Maybe the sports show goes on its own channel. I don't know. It's hard working with all this stuff. There are contracts. There's money. There's all sorts of things. And at the end of the day, it is kind of businessy. Not everybody's going to like it, but we got to do what's going to be the best going forward. And I think we're really all kind of starting to have failure to stop, in the last 11 months that it's been in its existence. It's been very Gumby. It's taken its form and its shape since Mike the Cop retired. And we're just still working through all of those growing pains. But I would say all this to say, be expecting a sports show. And it looks like that would be something from Jonathan Bates and the guys from Jason Kiefer from One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. The two of those guys coming together and doing some kind of sports show. And listen, I might be completely wrong on this. It might not happen at all. Their sports just might be a sports update during this show on Last Call. We haven't really worked it out. I like to be transparent to our fans. I don't like to just one day not have shows on and have different things, and then everybody questions what's going on. Why did this happen? Listen, I'll just be transparent. You're not going to agree with all the business decisions that we make, and that's okay too. But that's how it works. So we did a poll. 65% of people said they wanted to see sports news on the channel. Just trying to figure out where to get it, and so I'll just leave it at that. I've got a book meeting in 30 minutes. I'm going to go eat some lunch, and hopefully we'll have some good news to put out for that. Anti-Hero podcast, crushing it. You guys' last episode with the porn star, learned a lot from that.
Yeah,
I learned a lot from that.
And you know what? Everybody judges her. The comment sections are insane on the social media, but at the end of the day, she is with her husband, and they don't work with other men, and she does all the content with her husband. So, everybody calling her a whore and a slut, it is what it is. Would you film it and put it out there? Probably not most people, but,
yeah,
making more money than me.
If you guys haven't gone over there and listened to that episode yet, head over to the Anti-Hero podcast. Type that in under your podcast search button. Make sure you give them a 5-star rating and review. Also, One More and I'm Out of Here, guys. Go and give them some love, since we're trying to collaborate with them a little more. And then our Night Shift Top Secret Information Conspiracy Show with Conservative Ant. Go over there. That show's blowing up as well. Everything on this channel is doing very well. Getting a grip on things, guys, are going viral every other day with their shit on YouTube, especially on YouTube. They're doing very well on YouTube. So getting a grip on things on YouTube, go and check them out. Until next time, from myself, from Tyler, Anti-Hero Podcast, from Deadleg Media, the man, the myth, the legend, this has been Failure to Stop's last call of the day, political news on Wednesdays. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Com Center, Friday for the breakdowns.